Hello, everyone. Welcome to Juan and Crypto and Alfa Bitcoin. This is a video that is going to be published in both channels. And I have the pleasure here to have Matthew from Atomic Finance. Hi, Matthew. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me, Juan.
No, it's my pleasure. I think that Atomic Finance is one of the most interesting projects that I have seen recently. It's built on Bitcoin. We're going to talk more about this. It offers the possibility to have a yield on your Bitcoin. So that's not easy to say when you are assuming that you are not conceding, you are not sacrificing the custody needs of your Bitcoin. You are holding your own Bitcoin while having access to this project. So that's why I love it. But Matt, before going into Atomic Finance, options, DLCs, all these, why don't you tell us about your Bitcoin background? How did you get into this? Did you come from finance? Are you interested in this kind of products before Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, it was Bitcoin that I got into first. So I actually originally got introduced to Bitcoin back in 2014. It was actually my dad that introduced me to Bitcoin. He's a bit of a gold bug, so he was really into gold at the time. And so something like Bitcoin that was kind of outside of government purview was something that was really interesting to him. And so I remember at the time I was in high school, and so I was just, he's non-technical. He didn't know anything about, how to technically move Bitcoin or what private keys were. So I was managing like his Bitcoin at the time. And what happened was, I kind of forgot about it. I forgot about Bitcoin. I came back, 3 years later, and it was actually myself and my roommate, who's now my current co-founder. But basically, I wouldn't shut up about Bitcoin to him and about what was being created in the space. And we started, just kind of going back and forth, thinking about, hey, wouldn't it be great if there were, financial tools for kind of Bitcoin, for crypto? We went down the rabbit hole of building, kind of DeFi and Ethereum, weren't happy with what was being built there. And then we eventually came back to Bitcoin and decided, hey, Bitcoin is the asset that's going to be around for the long term. There needs to be financial tools built for this. There's been lots of financial tools built in Ethereum. Why don't they exist for Bitcoin? And, that kind of brought us to what we're building today.
That is awesome. And it's also awesome to know that you were also intrigued with what was happening on Ethereum. You saw what was there and you didn't like it, or you found that something was missing. Why did you not continue on the Ethereum route? There are a lot of successful DeFi projects, or let's say call them successful because they have a lot of total value locked. I don't know if that is success for everyone, but the point is that there are a lot of people using it, a lot of people developing new tools in this DeFi ecosystem in Ethereum. Why did you decide that that was not the path that you wanted to go through?
Yeah, well, I think when we first looked at Ethereum, obviously in our minds, when you're building a financial system, you want it to be very secure. You want it to be built in a manner where people aren't worried about losing their funds. And so we were actually building a cross-chain tool that would, it was for Bitcoin-backed loans. But what we noticed in the process of building on Ethereum was that, first off, you need to build using smart contracts at the base layer of Ethereum. And in reality, you would think that the security of something like that would be easy to do. But in reality, it's very easy for you to build a contract that has a lot of vulnerabilities in Ethereum. There's a large surface area of attack. Generally, products are built on top of other products, which results in a Jenga tower. And lastly, if you're a DeFi project in Ethereum, if you want to grow, the expectation is that you're going to create a token. And that was really never something that we were comfortable with. In our view, Bitcoin was built to avoid the money printing. It was built as an asset that would make sure that, you wouldn't have to do money printing in the future. And so doing something like that and needing to create a token really wasn't something that we were comfortable with. And so at the time that we were, building all these things, there was also a lot of work being done on like primitives on Bitcoin, such as Discreet Log Contracts, DLCs, and we'll get into that in a bit. But such that it was now possible to do more financial tools on Bitcoin itself. And so for us, it seemed like a no-brainer. why are we going and why are we building all these things in Ethereum when really the majority of the financial tools that you want to build for Bitcoin can be built directly on Bitcoin itself. And so that's really what made us, make the switch, on top of also reading the Bitcoin standard and realizing, hey, Bitcoin is the best money that's ever been invented in the history of mankind. And that's where we want to be building. So, yeah.
That's cool. So we both agree that Bitcoin is going to be here for the long term, that both we believe that Bitcoin is the main asset that we should focus on. There are some other ways in which you could build like complicated smart contracts on Bitcoin. So some people argue that, hey, Bitcoin is not Turing complete, so therefore you cannot build anything interesting and you need to go to other blockchains, or let's call it them in this case, on the sidechains, on the Bitcoin sidechains, you can start building products very similar to those of Ethereum, right? Like you have a small Bitcoin DeFi ecosystem on Rootstock, this very popular blockchain, or not so popular, but getting there. But Atomic Finance uses DLCs, you mentioned that, to build directly on Bitcoin without having to access any other token, any other infrastructure. You're not talking to other sidechain or blockchain or anything. How do you do this? Like, if you cannot build Turing complete contracts, what is a DLC and how can you apply this to build financial products on top of Bitcoin?
Yeah, that's a great question. So DLCs, they're also known as discrete log contracts. What they are in essence is so the same guy who originally invented Lightning Network, Tad Strija, also put out a paper for DLCs. And when you look at the structure of these contracts, they look very, very similar. So the basic idea is a DLC is basically a Bitcoin Oracle contract. So what it means is that if you want to do any type of financial contract on Bitcoin, well, what's stopping you from doing that? Well, first off, there's no kind of financial data on Bitcoin, right? What is the Bitcoin price today? The Bitcoin blockchain doesn't know that information, right? And so you need an external source to get that from. And so that obviously can come from an Oracle. And so what a DLC allows is essentially it allows for a very simple contract to be created on chain between two parties, right? So imagine me and you, Juan. We want to make a bet, for example, right? And we want to make a bet on maybe a soccer game, or I guess you guys probably call it football. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so you're aiming for team red and I'm aiming for team blue. And in the past, what we would have done is just gone with a third party to give our funds to and have them decide on the outcome. But what you can do with a DLC is essentially relock it into on-chain what is a 2 of 2 multisig. But in reality, there's also additional signatures that are created off-chain. And what the Oracle can do is the Oracle can simply attest or give the result of which team won, whether it's team red or team blue. And based on that, we can use the signature from the Oracle to be able to unlock the funds or the Bitcoin in the contract. So this is really, really elegant because you don't need, this is all done, on-chain Bitcoin, right? You don't need any tokens. You don't need any side chain. It's all using, primitives on top of Bitcoin. And when you look at the actual transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain, it looks no different than a Lightning channel. And what you can do is you can expand this. Like, this is a very simple example for a bet, but you can expand that to be used for futures contracts, for options contracts, whatever type of financial primitive you want to create can be created now with Bitcoin. And all you need is a counterparty that you want to enter into the contract with, and you need an Oracle that's able to attest to the Bitcoin price or some type of outcome. And now you've got a financial contract on Bitcoin.
Great. So you mentioned many things that I want to get more details on. Obviously, one is the oracles. How do you manage to have the oracles safe and to keep them honest? Because that's a problem that you have in many aspects in life. And the other one is, why did you start with options, knowing that you could do, as you said, multiple derivatives, multiple types of contracts? You started with covered calls, but we will talk about that a little bit later. Let's start with the oracle problem. How do you attempt to solve this problem? Because in other words, basically you have an agreement with a person that you're going to make this bet in this case, but the person that is going to tell the result to the contract, that is going to, let's say, act as the single source of truth, in the sense that either the blue team won or the red team won, is an external person, it's a third party. And the whole point of Bitcoin is to get rid of third parties, don't trust anyone. How do you tackle this problem with having a oracle that is going to tell you, okay, this is the truth, and the contract executes as I say?
Yeah, well, I think in general, a lot of people in Ethereum like to think about the Oracle problem, and their solution is to say, hey, we've solved the Oracle problem. We've created a decentralized Oracle. But in reality, if someone's claiming to you that they've created a decentralized Oracle, they're lying to you, right? Because oftentimes, it's the same thing as MPC, right? If you get a lot of parties to do it, how do you know that all those people aren't the same person, right? So the way that DLCs try to solve this problem, and at the end of the day, right, if you're using an Oracle, you are taking on that risk, right? Let's not lie about it, right? Like the Oracle risk is a real thing, and if you're entering into that contract, you need to be willing to take that on. Now, one of the nice things with DLCs in general, though, is that it does a few things to mitigate this risk. So first of all, imagine instead of doing a DLC, I was doing a 2 of 3 multisig, right? So maybe I have, me and you, Juan, we're entering into, a contract, and then we have an arbiter that's the third party. Well, one of the problems with that is that the arbiter can decide to basically favor certain individuals. So if I want to steal from this user and give it to this other user, or I want to steal from this other user and give it to someone else, I can do that with a 2 of 3 multisig. But with an Oracle, the Oracle needs to attest for all parties at the same time. So if I give the result of the red team winning, I can't give the result of the blue team winning for a different individual. And if I do that, I actually reveal my private key as the Oracle. And so that Oracle can no longer be used. And someone could even potentially steal funds from the Oracle. And so that's one of the really nice properties of DLCs. The other thing that's also interesting with DLCs as well is that you can do multi-Oracle, right? So instead of just trusting one Oracle, you could do a 2 of 3 Oracle or 3 of 5. And what's really nice about that is the Oracles don't actually need to know about any of the contracts that are using them. So there's this layer of like kind of privacy that's between the Oracle and the actual contracts that are being created. So which is really cool.
Okay, and do you have one single Oracle? Do you work with multiple Oracles? When I enter into one of these roll-ups on these cycles of investing in Atomic Finance, how does it work? Who chooses the Oracle? Do they know who's transacting with the contracts, or what information do they have?
Yeah, great question. So currently in Atomic Finance, so we allow folks to invest in, for a month at a time in basically the passive strategy that we've developed. And so at the moment, we've got the counterparty is one of our market maker that takes the other side of the contract. And then currently us as Atomic Finance, we run the Oracle. We do have plans to move to multi-Oracle. One of the big challenges with DLCs in general is the process of actually entering. So you have to create lots of different signatures. So if you notice on the app right now, it takes about like 1 or 2 minutes to enter. So we're planning to add multi-Oracle probably later this year, which obviously reduces the trust that folks need to have on us, which will be great moving forward.
Well, it's amazing that the market makers are trusting Atomic Finance with yourself being the Oracle, because in some sense they can be affected if you decide to lie about the price of Bitcoin. But as you were saying, so you need to commit multiple signatures, because you need to commit a signature for different price levels. Let's say that in this case you are the Oracle is providing the price of Bitcoin. So you need all these pre-signed transactions of Bitcoin at different prices so that the contract knows what the Oracle is saying. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So when you enter into the DLC in the first place, you specify just like if you were to do the simple bet, right, on is team red or team blue going to win. You only need 2 signatures for that, right? You need 2 off-chain signatures, either team red wins or team blue wins. Now imagine if you're doing a more complicated contract. If you're doing a futures contract or an options contract, we have what's called a payout curve. And basically what happens there is you create a signature for every possible outcome that could occur. And whatever that outcome is that the oracle attests to corresponds to an off-chain signature that has been created in the DLC that allows you to actually exit that. So in general, there's really 3 ways to exit a DLC. Number 1, the oracle creates an outcome and you exit using that. Number 2, even if the oracle disappears, like say Atomic Finance disappeared tomorrow and we're running the oracle, there's also a refund transaction that you can do after a certain amount of time to exit. And lastly, there's mutual close, right? So you can do a cooperative close, just like you do in Lightning with your counterparty in order to exit the DLC. So even if something goes wrong, like with the actual, the software or anything like that, there's always a way to be able to exit the DLC in a safe manner.
Great. Okay, so now let's get into Atomic Finance. We have gone through DLCs. It's a relatively complicated topic. I encourage people to get to dig into this topic by themselves, because obviously we will not be able to cover everything that is involved in this type of contracts. It's very interesting, very, very powerful. You more or less gave us the overview. Okay, now options. In simple terms, what is an option and how do you use them in your strategy in Atomic Finance? Maybe let's go through like call options, which are the most important ones for this case.
Yeah, sure. So options in general it's really simple. It's basically you enter into a contract where you're willing to sell Bitcoin at a certain price. So let's give an example today. The current Bitcoin price is $30,000. So maybe with you, Juan, I'd be willing to enter into, maybe I enter into so if I'm selling a call, for example, say like the strike price is 33,000. So what does that mean? So this upcoming Friday, if the Bitcoin price is below 33,000, then I don't need to give out any Bitcoin. If Bitcoin goes above 33,000, that means that I lose a percentage of my Bitcoin. So the basic idea is with options, you're willing to basically sell your Bitcoin at a certain price, and in return, you get a premium for doing that. So I might say, hey, Juan, I'm willing to sell my Bitcoin at 33,000, and basically I want to receive 0.01 Bitcoin for doing so. Now, the options that we do in Atomic Finance are all they're all weekly options, so they generally expire within a week. And the idea of it is that folks can earn a return by basically selling these calls and earning a premium for doing so. So it's essentially like earning a yield on your Bitcoin. Now, there's lots of different tools out there for selling calls, and most people aren't experts on this. And so you might go and you might try to trade options, and you end up losing a lot because you don't really know what you're doing. So what we've done in the app is we've made it really, really simple for folks that they can just invest for a month at a time. And we take care of the exact timing of when to enter the market. So we use various, TA filters to allow folks, to know exactly when they should be, selling a call. And we do that automatically within the DLC. So this makes it really simple for folks. The basic idea is we're not trying to trade against Bitcoin. In fact, most of the time when Bitcoin's going up in price, we're not even in a position. But what it allows you to do is it allows you to take advantage of the times when Bitcoin is volatile and the price is going down, and you can earn a premium. So it's basically like monetizing Bitcoin's volatility.
That's awesome. That's why I am a user of your product for some months already. But I'm gonna try to not translate, but make it simpler, the part of the options, and then we go again into the Atomic Finance, how to use these options. But I think that your explanation was good, but it lacked, maybe you use some terms that some people might not be familiar with. So I'll try to make it simpler. An option is like an insurance. You buy it, you pay a premium, and then if something happens, then you might get some of your money back, or a lot of your money back, or nothing. In the sense of a call option, you are buying the possibility of acquiring Bitcoin at a certain price. So let's say you buy an option, a call option for Bitcoin and 34,000. You said this coming Friday. If Bitcoin doesn't reach that price, you have the option to buy it. You don't have the obligation, right? So nothing happens. You just pay a premium, and that premium goes to your counterparty. How Atomic Finance uses it is they take the other side of the gamble, let's say, of the bet, of the financial transaction. they are forced to sell the Bitcoin at 34,000 by Friday, if obviously the price of Bitcoin is above 34,000. So what Atomic Finance is doing is cashing up, or cashing, I don't know how to say it in English, but basically they are getting the premium. Someone is paying that premium to ensure that the price doesn't go above 34,000, and if it goes above, they can buy it at 34,000. So instead of that, what Atomic Finance is doing is getting the premium, and if the price of Bitcoin goes above that level, then you have to sell or give part of your Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, that's a fantastic explanation, Juan. And to add on to that too, one of the really nice properties of cover calls in general is that if you're selling a call, for example, right? So the current Bitcoin price is 30,000, and maybe the strike price. So that means the price that I'm willing to sell at is 33,000. One of two things happens, right? Either Bitcoin stays below, in which case I get more Bitcoin, or Bitcoin goes above and I get and my Bitcoin is worth more in dollar terms. So you're either winning in dollar terms or you're winning in Bitcoin terms. And obviously our goal at Atomics is to make it so you almost never lose Bitcoin, right? I think our largest drawdown, the max drawdown, is like 1.19%. And so the vast majority of the time you're gaining more Bitcoin. But even in the worst case scenario where you do lose a little bit of Bitcoin, you're gaining more in dollar terms, which is why something like a cover call is really interesting for folks.
Yeah. So let's say that you have one Bitcoin. If you only have one Bitcoin, you don't want to put all your Bitcoin in Atomic Finance, because you lose the upside of the price going up, right? It's more to have part of your stack making a yield, and if the price of Bitcoin goes up, oh, great for the other stack, and you might not capitalize on the increase in value for the amount that you were getting the premium on. So in the long term, it might make sense, because you start charging lots of premium and the price of Bitcoin doesn't always go up. So some weeks you will have to, let's say, pay the option, or like honor the option. The person taking the other side of the bet will execute it, will exercise the option, and you will, in that case, you probably won't make money or make less money, but normally you will be cashing in some of the premium.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and to add on to that as well, Juan, like I would say as well, the majority of the time, sometimes it's just not a good time to take a position, right? So in the passive strategy that we've developed, there's certain months where we don't even take a position because we're worried about the price going up. So even this is what I recommend to people, is like, don't put your entire stack into this, right? Like put 90% in cold storage, and 10% or 5 or 10%, right, you can use as a way to earn additional yield on your Bitcoin. The majority of the time when Bitcoin is going up, the passive strategy is not even in a position. It's usually only on the way down that it enters into a position. But there's the odd time that doesn't happen. I think in the last 3 years or 3.5 years that the strategy has been historically tested, it only entered into really 2 positions that ended up being in the money. And so the majority of the time when Bitcoin is going up, you get to enjoy the pump. And when Bitcoin is going down, you can take advantage of the premiums. But obviously, there's a very rare case where it's the other way around. So, don't risk all your Bitcoin with it, but definitely, try it out with a small percentage of your stack and get comfortable with the tech. Try it out with, 0.1% of your stack or 1%. Just get comfortable with DLCs and see how it works, and go from there.
Yeah, I definitely encourage people to try all these new financial tools that we are developing in Bitcoin, because even if it's not Atomic Finance specifically, or if it's not Discreet Log Contracts, there's going to be a way to bring finance in a much more private, decentralized way that the current financial system that we have on Bitcoin. Mm-hmm. So one quick question that I have, and it's because it's a personal pain, let's say. In order to use Atomic Finance, you need to transact on-chain. You need to make a Bitcoin transaction. And recently, let's say especially about 2 months ago, with the surge of ordinals and inscriptions and BRC20s and stamps and all these things that they are putting on the Bitcoin site blockchain, well, the transactions have becoming very expensive. And to make an on-chain transaction that includes a DLC, it's a bigger transaction, therefore it occupies more space in the block, and then I have to pay more fees. Are you contemplating a solution for this for people like me who don't have like many thousands to put into this strategy, but we just want to test it out, see how it works, ideally make some return on our Bitcoin? Are you contemplating to use these like Atomic Finance on Lightning or maybe Liquid or Rootstock that I mentioned, something like that?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at Lightning. So first off, yes, absolutely. We had a nice attack on Bitcoin a couple months ago with ordinals and lots of on-chain fees. And I guess they've run out of money, Juan. They're no longer attacking Bitcoin. But the way I see it is that absolutely long-term DLCs are going to need to move to Lightning, because that is the place where really this can scale quite effectively. If you have folks that don't need to do a transaction every single month, then that improves it dramatically. So one thing that we're looking at right now, in general, the fees have come down substantially. So this isn't really a big problem. If you enter with 0.01 or 0.04 Bitcoin, you're not going to run into any problems with on-chain fees. In general, the on-chain footprint is still pretty small. It's just like opening a Lightning channel and closing a Lightning channel every month. And so the on-chain footprint isn't too big. But long term, we are planning to move to Lightning. And what this looks like is there's a lot of work that's been done in terms of allowing for folks to eventually be able to open Lightning DLCs. 1010 Finance has been doing a lot of work on this. And in the future, what this is really going to look like is you can have what's called virtual channels. And so what this will allow is when we enable Lightning for Atomic, it will also be able to work as a Lightning wallet as well. So you'll be able to receive sats on your Lightning wallet as well as open up DLCs. And so we're really excited to integrate that down the line. You'll be able to enter maybe for 3-4 months at a time without needing to close and open the channel again. So definitely excited in the future. Probably working on that early next year.
Oh, that's cool. Will you have to have a Lightning node, or would you be able to access it through a totally Lightning solution?
Yeah, we're going to build it directly into the app itself. So there's been a lot of work recently that's been done in the Bitcoin community and getting more libraries that are mobile friendly. Specifically, things like the Lightning Development Kit that's Spiral BTC has been funding. They've been doing a lot of work in terms of enabling more mobile Lightning development. So definitely want to make sure that's available within the wallet itself. If you have to set up a node, I mean, not that I don't encourage everyone to do so, but if you have to set up a node, that it's really not accessible to a lot of people throughout the world. So we want to make sure that's possible.
Yeah, it will become a very niche application, and not many people will be able to use it. Even I have my Bitcoin node. I don't have a Lightning node in this moment, so I would be out. So what you're telling me is that Atomic Finance is not going to be only a Bitcoin wallet, but it will also be a Lightning wallet with all these financial primitives incorporated.
Absolutely. Like the way I see it is in the short term, Lightning is the future, right? So we need Lightning to be able to scale Bitcoin effectively. Now, at the same time, Lightning isn't the be all end all solution, right? Bitcoin does not entirely scale just using Lightning. It would take, thousands of years for everyone on the planet to open one Lightning channel. And so, we're going to need more like scaling solutions down the road. I think things like CTV and maybe ARC, enable things like that. But, Lightning's a really good, short-term solution for scaling for sure.
Yeah, that's cool. I agree that we cannot stop here and see how it goes. We need to continue developing other, I don't know how to call them, protocols. Let's say if ever ARC gets to get built, or Fedimint or whatever, like all the other solutions that are coming. So I was telling you just before the video, I was telling you about how I'm interested in DeFi, maybe because of my financial background. I did over 6 years in investment banking before coming to Bitcoin. I was an equity trader. And you said, okay, DeFi might not be the best term to describe what we are doing. We came up with a new term. So why don't you tell us about this term that you're using and why you think it's more applicable or more correct than DeFi?
Yeah. So when we look at DeFi, I guess we came from Ethereum, and so we saw a lot of the things that were being done in DeFi. I think recently the term DeFi has really been dragged through the mud. It's been associated with governance tokens. It's been associated with scams. It's been associated with hacks that have occurred. And so we wanted to think, well, if we're building, like, part of the reason that we wanted to build for Bitcoin is that we believe it's the infrastructure. Like, Bitcoin is the coin that's going to be around for the next 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, 1,000 years of humanity using a technology like Bitcoin. And so in our mind, if we're building infrastructure for this technology, what is a term that better describes what we're trying to achieve and what we're trying to do with Bitcoin? And so a lot of people call, Bitcoin obviously sound money. So why don't we build sound finance for sound money? And so that's really what we believe is the new, like, DeFi for Bitcoin. Non-custodial finance for Bitcoin should be called sound finance for sound money, because that's really what we're building. We're building the sound infrastructure that's going to be around for the long term.
Great. So I'm happy I am hosting a podcast on sound finance with sound money. That sounds like the future. So Matt, thank you so much. If people want to know more about Atomic Finance, I believe that you opened already the beta. Is that correct? Is it now open?
That's correct. Yeah, we're now in open beta. You can find out about us. We're on Twitter at Atomic Finance, or at the URL atomic.finance. What we recommend to folks is, try it out. Try out the app with a small amount of Bitcoin. You can start with as little as 0.01, and test it out and find out, like, just get comfortable with the tech, get comfortable with DLCs, and excited to see who wants to test out Atomic Finance and learn more about sound finance for sound money.
That's great. So I believe that the link, or no, it's not a link. The
handle,
sign,
the Twitter handle,
yeah, whatever the Twitter handle is just there written, Atomic Finance. As I said, I am a user. I wish I could use it more frequently. Now that the fees are back to normal and the scammers run out of money, or the attackers run out of money and they are not paying the Bitcoin fees, I might go back to do it again. But I encourage everyone just to check it out, see if they like it, learn about DLCs. Is the future, is going to be here forever on Bitcoin. So Atomic Finance, great project. Check it out. And thank you very much, Matt. I'm glad to have hosted this space, learn a little bit more about your project and how we're building sound finance on sound money.
Amazing. Thanks so much for having me, Juan.
Cheers. Bye.